Hello, species, value, nature. There are three natures of wisdom. Then you can break it down. There are, you know, many natures of wisdom, semi natures of. In other words, there's three natures of the Trinity. This is value before the matter of the planets were bonded, while being that value, and as the gaining its own value by why it bonded itself into a semi nature that its complete self will not be. That's the value of the ground tied to the value that we are more and more of, as positive, as temporary positive, as more and more lasting positive or negative, as temporary positive. In other words, positive as criminal insidiousness nature, modern nations since semi-ancient times. This just reminds. The only thing any power of any nature of leader is allowed to look down on is states and areas criminally foreign influenced, forced per criminal uses of how our species is actually an identity of bonded sounds, individually grouped and together. The same reason we have individuals, sexes, ages, areas, physical cultures, in demonstration of of how we are and our complete identity as a simultaneously as an unceasing semi-nature relationship to the one we have no control over. That's why we need water in relationship to what's going to cause positive or negative value nature progressions, both ways. The identity of positive isn't controlled by it. See, this is value progression system perfect. We have words like God, words like atheism, words like crimes, with sequence shifts, identity theft, words like identity, I obfuscated from because they're valuing, self-valuing originally, and still there was already entrenched here where you could not defend and be anything but a relationship to the identity of value that is the identity of value of the ground, because of its relationship to identity that is greater than that, while being that value and while being our active value. Our quality of fact treatment nature is a nature of volume. Only the extent of it is being debated, is debatable. See, that's being prevented free speech with offensive intersciences, physical delusions, criminal foreign influences, preventing simple identities of correlation in regards to how we have machines. And we have a pathology of infrastructure with Hartford, Connecticut, for example, with New York City, distinctly and non-distinctly, Boston, distinctly and non-distinctly, in the pathology that was forced with the torture and slavery of our founders since before cars, as a tactically denatured relationship to nature that Native Americans have long been trying to make words to have admitted. See, but we have nations that are forced to share policing, forced to share needs to resolutions in relationship to how they are maintained effectively, each negotiated with terrorism as a criminal foreign influence method maintains self-value since ancient times, since before modern nations were only realized roles with no free speech, only to an extent. And so with the words of this method, forced by all roles, because there's too many, because there's time treatments that forced with all positions of the ground, because this exploits each nature identity. Identity has these five bonded sequence natures, bonded by what keeps them 10 sequence natures, and as a semi nature that is gaining as a nature of volume, which demonstrates in relationship to its complete nature, and that is how we have to speak this. See, but this is where and how we have to speak with not only how the sciences share an identity, But we have obfuscated how that is differentially and with sequential relationship to this that reveals that and how we've had no legal representation and worse. We've had victim predator roles with a breaching organized crime method using a human fact treatment nature, conforming each age of fact treatment nature to sequence shifting cover up roles, self value. Much worse, maintained on and off campuses with systems since before they were systems, exploiting the real sophistication of humanity, which is the identity of our nature of volume, which is individual nature of volume inherent. That's where the manifest individual nature of volume gains as, even if lost, because we are an unceasing nature of volume. That's the value of life as a relationship unto itself. It wants and needs and will only stay. Perfect value progression as what causes Earth where it can demonstrate 365 days in a year. CO step 5. Add 6, add 30 to that now. No, 10 is complete. But 10 is also semi. So then it's 30. And that 35 plus 365 is 400. See, 3 is 4 5. Actually, not just the number 4 5, 3 4 5. 3 is FOR 5. The value of 1 from the value of 3 zeros bonded since before matter. That stays. As the volume of forever nature has a semi-nature inside an even bigger semi-nature. And this is what science reveals. English was revealed to teach by nature scientists using yin yang with this. And using alpha and omega at the same time. Because this is where and how we're supposed that's value to be, that's value, positive or negative, to be divided from people distance wise, to discern the identity of what a positive and negative is at the same time, which is a simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the other natures of planets, with individual, grouped, and together value, distinctly and non-distinctly, the same way the English language is, because space has an identity bigger than it. While as its identity is all, that's why it's a semi-nature and demonstration of this. This is what English is revealed to teach. So I don't have time to do we have to. It only feels like game, which we're gonna reconnect. See, we make an industry, so a huge industry like before our founders were born, an organized crime method that was since before the nations associated with this with our founders still captive roles, trying to gain a position of leverage to counter what has this been so long. We lost on many fronts in the American Revolution with campuses, intercampus systems, database relationships to measured relationships to ground roles built originally and still other crime method, other crime method, all where they kept and keep the states and area stewards, victim predators originally and still. So many ways, specifically to have that pretended other, and that while it's self-valuing, crazy, real needs to be contrary to the surface value of the Constitution because of how that is exploited when we try to defend that nature of relationship to the ground as the same because of other nations hurting us. And that's because their identity of the relationship to the ground is hurt too. We're in a trap where that made modern nations propagated only capable of blaming the real causes of negative value nature, progression, acts, and natures on other things other than themselves. time treatment's forced to value that with justifications of their fact treatments, needing to react to this. We have identities of police where they're not allowed to even talk about that. But if they demonstrate it, they become confess and demonstrate roles with it. They use DACA, a whole bunch of nations associated with that. You know, and I hate to say, none of these, in other words, these other nations that are really hurt, then they come here, and in other words, they have identities of a minority, but it's a whole bunch of names. See, there are a whole bunch of natures of courts with criminal uses of positions of the ground because they're originally still lying about and having lied about the value of people, the values of the identity of the ground. And with everyone, for example, all victims, but victim predators. For example, a way they motivate this is criminal uses of summer school classes. See, now this is criminally using the identity of the campuses with teachers that work on it, and then they want, this is also where everyone's pretended they're valued by being an identity that they don't know how to defend. In other words, because in other words, they defend the best they can by relying on the experts of types of things the way they're told. That is involved with an organized crime method, originally and still. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a police form, not a criminal. For example, they're recorded, confessed, demonstrated with physical delusions, database crime roles, all natures of crimes, drugs with HH, with psychology, with foreign and domestic police forms shared, with agreements real sick, with sub statutes you can't defend that and uses of it, and the surface value of this Constitution at the same time where they're pretending to. That's recorded. They're forging names, switching names. It's also because now they have various stages of courts originally and still offensively preventing mandated law in themselves from being demonstrated or told on. Real crazy. Originally still, imagine standing before court and they're entertaining color, and then you're going before that. In other words, and from the base that is still glorifying what was used, like zoning laws, tactically denatured relationship to nature, water's means, juxtaposed with all motivations, nature, real interest, forcing it and keeping it maintained, blamed on other things. For in other words, there was a conspiracy theory against this country. That's what, in other words, that's what American history is about. They're recorded, modern nations criminally incompetent with the law as victim predators. So we have to treat it like this by not blaming people. Forgiveness is so we can admit that our value nature system can't afford to heal the tactically denatured relationship to nature, which is the value more than of the identity of the ground. It's required leverage for what's going to cause positive value nature positive value nature progressions, acts in nature as evolution's fruits and gifts. It means in a way that's known long other than these ways and means. When we redeems, even if the nations agree to do it wrong, to do it, without what we're all working on and caring about together on a project, the entire species together, then and using this identity, the one that inventions work or not. This is, in other words, as three semi-natures bonded by one nature in physics. This is before the value of a planet, while being the value of a planet, and beyond the value of a planet, and gaining from that, from what is gained through us as forever nature. Only the extent of it is debatable. See, that's offensively being debated criminally, as all victims trained to it, because everyone was fit to roles with this edifice of life progression, cover up roles, needs and natures, and sequence shifting. That's critically tied to the uses of the identity of ground. They're pretending that critical issues like slavery are too complicated for little kids because of because each age of campus, intercampuses, intercities, and worse than interstates, worse than just interstates too, worse than just interstates and those states tied to Washington D.C. Trade Center attack, Trade Center, leading up to it and since with the investigators. We have investigators of things as crime acts rolls with child abuses, with the experts supposed to be pretending against that, sustaining fake care and aggression on each age of fact treatment nature in relationship to key things in life progressions that are maintained by the breaching method, self-valued and needed by the identity of negative value nature progression. That means every identity in it as modernation, suits and ties, counter to it, not even preventing free speech, not preventing religion even, offensively staying entrenched state scenarios in collusion with sensibilities, standing inter religious platform spots, identities of ground used by this that pretends they have the right to lie, the right to be standing undercover for certain positions so they can pretend to be perceiving things that they know aren't there and having people roles acting it as which is recorded. And then that's developed where they have private and standing police inter cities, their family members involved with crimes with overt criminal enterprises, with a whole bunch of private, especially with medical and fire departments and campuses. This is an intercampuses structure. These are medical campuses. These are fire department campuses. These are campuses of each age. Because the ancient campus martius system that was revealed as value by the species working together, not just working together, but valuing what was working together as representative of the species originally and still are in collusion. To the extent of it is not being allowed to discern because we're not having free speech. We have identity thefts. We have various natures of long time standing interbranch families, crime rolls with overt criminal enterprises the same exact way, sickly distinctly though too. How they're maintained victims to criminally foreign influence leaderships, other police forms, how they're all juxtaposed. Then they have to pretend by pretending to be about wanting judicial independence. They don't have judicial independence. These are people with Russians against Russians, Americans against Americans, with conspiracy theories. As psychology, they fake conversations with people. They forge names. So they're pretending they're communicating to people by pretending they had conversations with those people in writing. Mail crimes, lying, pretend I had conversations about the CIA. These are drug cliques with a Leahy family, with a whole bunch of other doctors associated with him. Crimes with various natures of courts and interstates from Connecticut. Intercampuses, crime acts rolls on and off the campuses with police forms, foreign and domestic military, maintained their crime acts rolls and uses of shared policing of locations, foreign and domestic criminal uses of how they have policing of like police explorers, people in a Dillon family with military families, foreign domestic criminally involved with kids through time, with houses in my area that are people that are gone and people that are still here. And then they sold their house through my family with the past neighbors. They use that involved with crime acts with me against me with the Dillon family involved with real estate crimes with that. People with Park Street through time associated with these are people crimes with forensics cliques with drugs with kids. Crimes with foreign and domestic medical offender claim campus, and these are people with prisons where they force people to either take A or B. People are going to say whatever they want because they're going to hurt them more. They've been using their roles with fact treatment natures and abilities to attach people to fake words, fake behavior, fake sequences, fake locations, fake relationships to others, having had that facilitated already done for them through time. There's a Phil Colo, and also recorded confessed by a Bob Chase, and with other people involved with a Dr. Graham, also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, recorded, involved with crimes with child sex offenders, and with Pakistani people, and with other nations, and overt criminal enterprises from and stuff like that, with evidence crimes with the Demoro family, and with a Kerr family, with judges of various natures of courts, with this Kalol family, with their extended family members, recorded and confessed involved with crimes with a principal child offender. That's recorded and confessed having been crimes with more people. These are people that were crimes facilitated with the people that put him away, with those courts that were used criminally leading up to a 2006 case, with people that were involved with a proven post-dated documents that had been time-stamped and handed in and delivered on time, had been shown to the Ninth Circuit right before the Trade Center attack. Panel of judges saw that. So that was proven. That led to a Connecticut District Court case. Leading up to that case, New Britain Superior Court was a court that confessed, demonstrated, involved crimes with the Hartford courts and with depositions in other cases, and other people tied to, criminal uses of those things. They have, through time, recorded, confessed, demonstrated criminal uses of lawyers to make it look like people knew each other, and using evidence ties to the ground, tricks where everyone's acting like people associated around with the Samuel Dix houses. Now these are foreign and domestic military with a Justin Kovinskis, also recorded, confessed with a whole bunch of people on off Trinity College, on off CCSU, with crimes with drugs with kids, all of private drugs kinds and gangs kinds, and they're using this for identity theft, database crime rules, criminal uses of body dumping spots, real or made up, through time intercities, because they have fake news, crime acts rules, crimes with sustained abuses of kids, fake care for them at the same time, putting people into fake relationships in databases. This is tied to people interstates with sharing the names, and like the name Bobby shared by boys and girls. These are all victim predators interbranch. These are how they maintain the police forms directed to collusion with directors, because these are people with crimes leading up to, with crimes with former director of the FBI Robert Luskin, and with his lawyer criminally, leading up to and in a 2006 case in Connecticut in a district court, and then leading up to and not letting me and others report this, and they use crime methods like pretending they have the right to lie. In other words, to prevent people from reporting things and from countering their roles with identity thefts. There's also a Charlie Bowes. I never had a conversation in my life. He's also recorded, confessed, involved with the people with Fox Connecticut News, a whole bunch of men and women, officers involved with child offenders, medical crimes, crimes with FBI, other natures of police forms, CIA, other natures, foreign and domestic families, foreign and domestic military involved with identity theft. Also intercities, on and off Middletown, on off Wesleyan campus, reported festival, criminal uses of the locations of, and the fact-cheating natures of private police associated with the schools. All the standing positions maintained, sustained from off campuses and layers, criminally foreign influenced. Good people talking about who's good people, and they're forging names, switching names, acts roles, because they're being used criminally by the courts that are preventing mandated law. Judges forging names, switching names, crime acts roles with the police form, sticking fake things in databases. Their crime acts roles with guns and stuff like that. Too long on Hartford, Connecticut, New York City, keeping everyone blaming the wrong things, because they need to blame something and they need to force change, but they don't know how. They don't know what to do. Change becomes the thing. That's the extent, the extreme that we're only led. So, I can read both sides at once. No one's they're letting making each leader stay knave, not let a quality of fact cheating nature capable of countering this nature of criminal insidiousness that had and has so many natures of criminal insidiousness, natures, wrongdoing, self-value. in relationship to valuing of the identity of the ground, all victims for a method. Now, see, we need to have this reported. They're lying about behavior. See, now these are, I can say, hey, if I go like that, you can say, oh, that's not good behavior. See, but you have priorities that are just recorded, America, other nations, with physical delusions, criminal foreign influences. When you try to defend that now, for example, if you try to say that someone else has better behavior, if I where and how and how I'm acting my aggression towards the nonsense treatments of all the voiced opinions on the law. They're all negative value nature since semi-ancient times, interbranched, individually grouped together. Their styles and methods of lying maintained, self-cultivated, propagated, maintained, propagated, self-cultivated roles with lie progressions unfathoming how the only sophistication we have can be maintained for others. It's recorded though. See, but they're pretending other when I speak. See, but I have the phenomenon not because they pretend our president, when it's not during election season, they're pretending our president is narcissistic. For example, misprision, multi-front, doing fake things, fake emphasize. This is a method that engineered all roles juxtaposed, needing to maintain valued native fact treatments because of time impositions. What was designed to be the pathology of our relationship to the rest of space is designed to be maintained, caused to and as negative value nature progression, self-value, to be played by this organized crime method since semi-ancient times, since before modern religions. It is recorded that we don't have them defended honestly. And what does that and just see, everyone's relying upon types of experts. They don't even understand, they know. And before anyone allows the protraction of see, because everyone's sensibilities, each branch has used misprision, whole bunch of names against individuals. They're making conspiracy theories when someone tries to use simple correlation. It is unacceptable that in how zoning laws and pathology of infrastructure involved with the torture of and the slavery of our founders and of Native Americans is still valued, self-valued. They didn't even have cars then. That's how sick it is. They stole your American history, then they pretend that they're about the law because they were taking shock and awe. Each branch individually grouped and together is maintained shock and awe. There are for time treatments. I'm not saying they're not victims. I'm not saying that they don't know things smarter than me, wise about me than things. I'm saying there's three natures of wisdom. And even then, it's only positive value nature. I mean, it's only temporary positive. And criminal insidiousness is a temporary positive. And so we have obligations by the nature of American history, by the nature of modern nation's history, to discern the difference between insidious positive, what is positive to the sensibilities of a standing fact treatment nature of volume, especially as our leaders. It is not that nature of theater. It is admitting that and how we have natures of policing as identities of the law, forced, respected, and hid because of the agreements to do that, only let realized in relationship to not having enough money, not by purpose, in relationship to where and as and how we might have it. We do have enough money for things. There are different natures of wealth. So it's not just having enough. We have to have an identity of relationship to the identity of leverage. Since before the bond, the value of the ground, while being it simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, and simultaneously connected to our volume of human fact treatment nature, actively, progressively, while inherently. So these three natures have those three natures of there's the complete identities, three natures of relationship to itself, inherent to each nature of volume too. So, and this trinity is the range we are in, connected again to what was value since before this, while being the value of it increasingly, and as what's gaining from beyond that from this, which it can only do to an extent. See, they went after extremism because these are people playing a fact cheating nature organized crime method on each more modern nation, each position of the human fact cheating nature, even kings as Oz, looking down on state scenarios, criminally foreign influence, fake theater positive, forcing them to be roles. Oh, it's presidential. It's not presidential. See, chief. That even all chiefs, no Indians, is not positive or negative value nature. This is the course about one identity's identity of relationship to itself. Alpha and Omega's yin yang's value is a little bit more of another nature of invisible but still discernible through and with the value of them, more and more value. Yin yang are painting identity nature's identity of relationship to itself, which is identity nature as forever nature, making more and more of itself. We are the nature of volume, while as a nature of volume, we are the nature of volume. We are the, and that's to answer Earth's simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of planets. To have distinct and non-distinct relationships, individually grouped and together, to what is the nature of leverage using their relationship to this forever nature we are. Note the rest of nature with no criminal foreign influences, right? With the sun, could be 365 days. Incomplete, which 10 would be, 100 would be. This is in relationship to the three natures of zeros. With, you know, the gaining value of semi-nature in relationship to it, what is inseparable from it does not leak. Everything is it. See, Allah's name was revealed to teach this with the other names of gods at the same time, but it's about one identity. You can only see it if you understand how all the sounds have these languages were revealed more than they were invented. The languages have individual grouped and together value in relationship to how our nature of volume is a value relationship to itself. The same way all the different parts of our body are value to our identity, but not through these systems. These are hierarchies, tactically ulterior from each position of its needs. It's not the dictator that's good or bad. It's the quality of fact achieving nature. What's with people that are pretending to be against dictators? That's a quality of fact achieving nature that is preventing all the ways we need people to defend ourselves from where we need people to yell for who's and they're lying about who yells off offensively to prevent people who need to yell from yelling where they need to yell. This is each age of fact achieving nature in a sick, fake positive self-value, but what really keeps the negative value nature. That's to the extent they have nuclear weapons. That's self-value. When identity is lost, oh, it's a cold world at the state and area level. More and more take away the value of the finite below our feet as our value. They left forsaken people. That's not prejudice. That's not racism. That's an organized crime method rules. That's unacceptable. And it's also, you can't tell American history if you don't see how they made Hartford, New York, Boston connected by an organized crime method that wasn't really negotiated by those differences between those nations, but as what forced even our founders not to speak about the forced internation monitored database relation laws of slavery against everyone if they were found out speaking about building infrastructure outside of context. Now, even if that's not true, that's why I learned the notes at CCSU. Even if it's not true, even if the witch trials weren't true, their treatments of those issues are showing they're still in collusion with the organized crime method that had to have that left George Washington only capable of leaving entrenched the breaching method with overt slavery, color. In other words, everyone was still at the end of the whip, and they had sick dudes holding it, as fact cheaping nature slaves. But sick dudes. Everyone blaming the causes of it on other things, others themselves, and valuing that because of time treatments. And whereas again, how this theater positive is a problem. The evil justice is a problem. That's theater too. That's why we needed habeas corpus rights, stuff like that. That's why we needed simultaneously another nature of statutes. Because they'll just steal people's voice identities. These people who walk around prisons, I'm not a criminal. I want to stay that way. Everyone, we have the branches of government and have the prisons in collusion with overt criminal enterprises through time, with evidence crime acts, criminal uses of databases, criminal uses of drugs, crime rolls with the same things they're pretending to be against. This is how they're exploiting how we have each modern nation negotiated with terrorism. Each modern nation negotiated with terrorism. They blamed on other things, others themselves, and are doing that because that's the only way that everyone's needing to buck how they're being exploited. The identity of the relationship of the ground. It's not wasted because we have too many people. It's because our identity of relationship to it as a value nature system, that nature itself is going to keep you demonstrating negative value nature, progression, X nature. Vaccines, I tell you things, prepare your souls. Ancient gaming system. Yo. The value told. The timeless way returns again. All you have to do is admit forgiveness is for this. Fake branches bow then fall below the wall. Below me wall. For the people, below the people. Help me up there, y'all. Some push, some pull. We'll get this down. Connecticut. I'll gather round. The identity of ground is what they're being using criminally. Locations on off campuses used criminally. Whole bunch of people tied to a Phil Cololo further confessed and recorded, involved with various natures of courts, criminally involved with forensics clicks through time, and with the body dumping spots, legalized and not, and with people with crime acts rules, identity theft crime acts against me on and off campuses, and then crime acts rules with that through family members, lying and acting to my family members on and off the 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike with the Wethersfield police chief, with this Phil Cololo, people with the name Joey Quest, a Nick Sweet, someone who used the name Nick Sweet, a Subby Scalora, and Scalora family. These are people involved with trade center crimes with clicks with Trade Center, Washington, D.C., intercampuses, database crimes, identity theft crime rules, intercampuses tied to of all ages connected and tied to uses of Hartford, Connecticut. Forget about it. Where they have the shootings the most. These are victims of a fake care method, simultaneously aggressive and sick justice and identity theft racket upon these areas, with the same ones, stacking their names and having their names stacked against people in Wethersfield like me. So these are people facilitating people to crime acts against each other because the judges and the police forms are through time forging names, switching names, preventing mandated law. Then they want to pretend that the problems were about other than they are, and hiding how they're juxtaposed with other than realized motivations, nature's needs and interests, even where they're directing the interactions between people. They don't understand how those people are already involved, criminally foreign influenced by what they're trying to counter. They don't understand what they were built as. Modern nations, the branches of government, fake. The defenses of pseudo sciences. We have pretended. They have the narratives where they say, no, they're faking news. They're stealing identities with the news, with their interbranch sources, and with crime acts rolls with them, in cases and with depositions, criminal uses of depositions of lawyers with types of law treatments to pretend to make how they're criminally using the ground, make fake sides of fact treatment nature, how they're criminally using databases so for crimes ahead of time. They're preemptively used. There's a whole bunch of people, intermilitary, everything like that. They're just defending. These are killers. Remember, you kill for your country, but you're killing for your country with a narrative relied upon other people's fact treatments, relied upon other people's left criminally foreign influenced sciences, left criminally foreign influenced database, left valued roles with that. So everyone wants to hurt with their title, like punks. But then they can't sustain it. If they can't sustain it, they have to shut down that's bad behavior is bad. They're lying about our behavior because they're lying about sequence. We have a whole bunch of people with the Joshua Julian, also with the Coast Guard involved, women. Who wants to hurt a woman? No one. Fact treatment wise. See, but they're they have everyone speaking through other people. These men and women interbranch, all that tied to them are hurting these kids. Sickly, distinctly, every city. Non-distinctly, sickly, non-distinctly, every city. That's not being voiced. They're valuing how sickly, non-distinctly, because they're valuing how we need to demonstrate this by observing and demonstrating the lies of the branches. You start doing that, they start pretending it's personal and then start attacking you with sub-statutes designed and built for offensive identity thefts. Evil justice. Evil natures of justice originally still. What is slavery? What is Jim Crow? What is it to watch our beloved president speak about Jim Crow as Oz? We have to fight here. Not against racism. We have to fight and we have to discern what we have to fight against, which is an organized crime method, which is an ancient gaming system, which is YouTube ground. If you guys will want, I'll gather around. I'm not, I shouldn't, I don't know if it's legal to ask that YouTube if they would do YouTube ground, for example. I'll gather around a gaming system to counter this. That's why I put ancient gaming system. I took my ancientgaming-system.com off the YouTube thing for the, I don't know where. I have to read some. There's so many timing and positions because these are extortion method. This has each age of fact treatment nature knows they need peace, and they need security, and they need more than that for that to be true. But they're only letting peace and security be negative value nature. There are a whole bunch of people tied to the Zano family. Also on and off the middle school, Celestine Middle School, further recorded confessed involved with drug crimes with the kids, with the interstates police forms, all the way from former director of the FBI That was before Comey and Mueller. There were, because these are people that used how we have a whole bunch of nations for shared policing through time, originally and still juxtaposed. To have that defended, you're defending what is negative value nature in relationship to really why we're bonded group nations as a species, bonded by the species nature of volume. See, now we're bonded by agreements that are sick fake theater, only capable of defending that. So right before they're going to talk on issues, they're going to attack the nerves of Obama. They're going to attack the nerves of Trump simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. Everyone's theater positive, and they're going to go like, they should. Not one. So when we have people that are saying, "Oh, their behavior," we have people recorded and involved crimes with Russians, pretending to be about nuclear weapons. With at the same time, the leaders of, you know, they say, "Oh, this is a prestigious university with a medical." They have some real psycho sick people associated with psychology, crime methods, natures actually recorded. See, criminal insidiousness has a nature now and has value. And we're going to discern how it simultaneously, distinctly, and non-distinctly has value as a nature has value. And simultaneously, distinctly, and non-distinctly, at the three value natures of volume at once that way. 3, 4, 5, distinctly, non-distinctly. And that 5 is simultaneous. We're going to bring simultaneous natures of relief, and it only feels like game. That's why we're going to set it up as the gaming system, because that's what it feels like, because that's what it is. It reveals evolution's fruits and means. The way the ancient republic is really supposed to be, was really revealed to work. We need yin yang inside of all, where alpha and omega are together. Value A, with English left to right, this is to teach about where alpha and where yang are apart from that value. While it's also to teach where and how they're inseparable from that value. This is where and how we are increasing nature of volume, and with a semi-nature that is not just balanced to and with that, but it is self-generating with that. And that's how we are a quality of diffusion, equal to the complete value of Z, or equal as semi-nature of Z. So the bottom of it, forced, Leith of Hadith, forced away from Earth's immediate space nature value, distinctly and non-distinctly in relationship to other planets, grouped and then all together bonded, even all together by only a semi. We'll examine this as proofs. So each 3 natures has 5, that's 15. See, because it said there's a complete nature, it's simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature to a complete nature, which is a little bit more of this. So that we'll examine this. Don't believe. In other words, the ground is valued before, but while as the value of 0. That causes the value of 1. This one nature that is our subject. English and algebra. See, that's why and how Arabic helped preserve algebra. Even though we had Jesus Christ helped do damage control to what was already stole the Campus Martius, already stole the value of states and areas, integrity of sciences, of a human fact, treatment, nature, value. That's what, the religions aren't about leaving that out. This is about science. See, we don't have that defended because everyone's respecting titles as told to. And we're not being allowed to use our correlation nature simultaneously inherent active and progressive means to see that and how and why leaders distinctly and non-distinctly groups distinctly and non-distinctly, and individuals distinctly and non-distinctly. How they're all liars, originally and still, as standing mass criminal insidious natures, and so as styles in relationship to needs by that for the identity that is the phenomena that is a phenomenon manifest everywhere value is, because a little bit more of a complete nature is coming into here, and with its complete nature of relationship to itself, that is not only the value of here as all values at once, the value of that, but it is the magnitude of that, and as what is gaining from that from since before that as magnitude. There are three natures of magnitude. Everything is temporary slash lasting, positive or negative, in relationship to Earth's value, down to all finite us. Big bus of sky, the Earth. Native Americans, see, Native Americans, they make people defend offensively convictions that they weren't here. Called counter how they had, they're not letting our American history told, because then they can't defend how they theater positive. They force that to each leader insidiously. What motivated it is also recorded. See, these are criminal uses of the ground. Its identity of relationship to people. Whole bunch of people through time used the databases with campuses in Wethersfield criminally from what is interstates and intercities maintain criminal foreign influences. They're putting fake things in databases through time. These are people also crime acts rolls with houses on and off the state judicial branch, and with people on and off the state judicial branch of a building off area, businesses, and a house with a down the street from there with the Oliveri family, with the Joshua Stryker involved with a whole bunch of people involved, federal criminals and other police forms involved criminally with with a former director of the FBI and his private capacities as a defendant, as people crime acts rolls with various natures of courts clicks, crime acts leading up to cases on off campuses with this, influencing the identity theft of people, uses of lawyers, uses of depositions to make fake sides of fact sheet nature, to hide what, pretend they don't realize what was proven was proven. Because we have so many natures of police forms in collusion with overt criminal enterprises through other methods and motivations needs to lie, needs to value the real cause of negative value nature progression acts in nature. For example, negative value nature progression. How many people went to jail before you hear that? How sick that is. There's someone that's innocent goes to jail, and they spend all those years. They're not allowed to speak. Everyone says they're innocent. That's because everyone before they're getting in trouble, and completely innocent people, they're being used by the branches kept needing to hide lie progressions offensively, needing to hide how they had already through time all kinds of. This is before everyone was born. They had to look at the pathology of of infrastructure of means to it. Now that we have cars too, how everyone awes, incapable of countering impositions on people in group, like how they have foundations of people's houses messing up now. Where are we going to make enough concrete and stuff like that to do the rest of the world, to heal the tactically denatured relationship to the world? The only way we can do it, you don't reach for the mountain. That's what people will do, privately or grouped sick. As a species, we can reach out together everywhere we can to bring what we can't hurt. You just get the minerals and stuff like that. We have words like social. These campuses, they've been using words like everyone, all leader, the only voice led voice through generations, not by accident, only capable of discerning American identity and through contrast. Those are contrasts in collusion with all kinds of ill physical delusions, criminally foreign influence, fact treatment, nature, racket roles with psychology with these nations like Russia and America. Inclusion over here with fire departments, police forms, cliques, indifferent to the sickest uses of interbranch means to get over on people, of time, of their roles with identity thefts, their roles with time because they need to use their positions to pretend things that they can't get off, pretending in the background. Well, they can, that's the only way they can get away with it. So they attaching people to fake behavior, fake words, fake recorded things they're putting in databases as courts. They can't defend themselves because they were facilitated. They're pretending to be against roles, kinds of Russians. They're facilitated to it through how they're standing lie progressions. They're standing crime roles with each campus I went to with sequence shift method makes them in collusion with the people from the year before that. This is with mayors, with the mayors through time. This is with the town offices further. I don't know if that's considered a campus. They moved the Wethersfield Police Department, which is a campus. So that those part of the town, houses and businesses near there recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them criminally with the policing of those people, with the people that are criminally foreigners, criminal uses of sick killers who are punk fakes, only capable of doing it intermilitary, foreign and domestic. We have modern nations in identitative negative value nature progression, identity theft crime acts roles, self-valued database crime acts roles, self-valued crime acts roles with all kinds of natures of medical corruption, interbranch. And so those are people how they pretend to be against that. Oh, we care about the homeless. You guys help out. Oh yeah, we care about the VA. They're using the VA criminally. Think these are means? Look at these elderly homes. Oh, the food comes out at that time. Get out of here! You see what I'm saying? Not one person heard free speech. No, I'm sorry, excuse me.